This is Natalie Fields, and this is my Learning Strategy 1 lesson plan. The lesson that I'm doing today is a pre-learning and during learning strategy, and I'm going to be focused on discussing symbolism as related to specifically the book Speak. So this lesson plan would be used in probably 10th grade or 11th grade, focused on symbolism with developing more content knowledge for the book Speak in a high school classroom. So the very first thing I would ask my students is to tell me the two types of trees that were mentioned in the reading from the day before. So the two types of trees are an apple tree and a pine tree. And before we would begin brainstorming together as a class, I would hand out a graphic organizer, which is a brainstorming worksheet that I made, and it's very simple. It's just an apple tree and a pine tree. And what I want the students to do is to have them write characteristics of apple trees and pine trees, everything that they know about an apple tree and a pine tree. So I would hand that worksheet out and have them do that for the first, probably give them 3 minutes, 5 at most, just as a brainstorming activity. And once they had time to do that on their own, we would do this together. So the first thing we'll do is we'll do an apple tree. And this is where I need my help. So what do you all know about an apple tree? What does it do?
It grows apples.
It grows apples. I was hoping someone would say that. Callie, you know anything about an apple tree?
They can grow different types of colors.
Different colors. Do apple trees last, do their leaves last all year? What happens in the winter?
They fall off.
The leaves fall off, so they don't bloom all year round. Anything else? Those are probably good. So we'll put that over there. And then the second tree is a pine tree. So we would do the same thing with that one. What do you all know about pine trees?
The needles don't fall off in the winter.
Okay. So the needles don't fall off. What else? Anything
They're
different?
pointy.
Pointy? Okay. So thinking about these, if the needles don't fall off and they're pointy, during the winter, what do you think an animal could use a pine tree for?
Shelter.
Shelter. So pine trees can mean shelter. And what about an apple tree? If they grow apples, what does it mean that they can do?
They can eat it.
They can feed animals, right? And that's just,
Help it stay alive.
yeah, help them stay alive. So those are different purposes of trees that we can figure out by just thinking about the trees in the book. And the reason why we would talk about trees is because the main character, Melinda, in her art class was assigned to, everyone had to draw an object to focus on the whole year in an art class. And Melinda, her object that she drew was a tree. And that's what she had to focus on the whole year. And she thinks it's a really, really dumb object. But what we're going to talk about today is symbolism. And so we're going to start thinking about why the author chose a tree to represent Melinda and to represent her character, thinking about symbolism. So symbolism is the use of symbols or objects to represent ideas or qualities. So symbols on their own can be any object that is used to represent an underlying thing or a deeper meaning of something. So to dig a little bit deeper into the use of symbols, I have this object symbolism chart, and this was given to me by one of the teachers at Pikeview High School. She helps students who may have trouble reading to develop ways that help them understand content more, and this was a graphic organizer she gave me for that. So the objects that we're going to talk about the meanings of these are fire, the sun, a tree, a cross, a diamond, a skull, an hourglass, a light bulb, and an owl. And these are commonly used symbols throughout literature that students need to kind of think about the meaning and what they could mean in different things. So the students would have probably about 15 minutes to work on this, and they could work on it with a partner so that they could understand some different meanings. And we would of course go through all of the meanings of that together and discuss that as a whole class once they have had time to go over it and talk about the importance of literature. So the importance of this is to help students dig deeper into reading. It's to understand that the character, for instance, she doesn't just draw a tree to just draw a tree, that the author had a specific purpose for the symbol of a tree, and for students to have the opportunity to think about the trees mentioned in the book and the different purposes that they could have. And then also thinking about predictions we could make. So what I would ask students to do maybe at the end of the class, even after we've done more class reading, would be to be based on everything we learned and the worksheets we did and discussion about symbolism, would be to make a prediction about why they think the author chose a tree to represent Melinda. And hopefully after they were able to make their prediction, then at the end of the book we could kind of conclude and see if they were able to make a good prediction based on what they know about symbolism and the character and the author's purpose for putting it in there. So again, as related to our book by Laura Robb, the things I really focused on were the pre-learning and prior knowledge, because this is something that students would just throw out what they know about things already to see that they can make connections with things during learning, which symbolism would be a mini lesson before we actually read more so that they could connect to the prior reading that they did. And then once the book is finished, we would do the post-learning and seeing all the connections they made and if their predictions were correct. So thank you, and that is my Strategy 1 lesson plan.